Recording in progress.
Recording in progress, everybody. Welcome, everybody, to the June edition of the Tips and Tricks SIG. Our typical format will have an open forum, and then we'll break into our topics that I have posted out in the group and cover those. And after that, we can have a wrap up for the evening. So, that being said, does anyone have any questions or problems they'd like to present to the masses here? None. Well, I will tell you again. Oh, Bill, go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, I sent you a couple of YouTube files a couple weeks back.
Yes.
On transferring money from individual to individual.
Yes, I saw that. Have not watched it. I've been out of town, and I'm still playing catch up on a lot of things, and that was one of the things I wanted to do, but I don't have it addressed yet. But I did see it. If you'd like to present that,
if you want to let me share.
Sure. I think it's actually set up to share.
There were two videos. I found one. It's 7 minutes long. If that's okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sure. Go ahead.
We can. If somebody else has got a question first, we can wait.
Why don't we do that when we break into our presentations or into our subjects, okay?
That's fine.
All right, so let's do that. So I'd like to stay on topic here of people have had problems with their computers and issues, and that's what we start out with. And then we can go into tips like Bill has there. So back to problems and questions. I posed it to the group, and none. Well, we might be going right into your thing pretty quickly. But I will tell the group that I did have an issue with this laptop that I am currently being seen on. Just at the conclusion of Westside's meeting a couple weeks ago, I got done with the meeting, closed it all down, and was ready to close my laptop lid. Went to close it, and the screen separated from the hinges, and it went crack. Yeah, and now I don't know. There was nothing I did. Now, this laptop is 8 months old. That's it. So it's practically new. It's a Lenovo laptop, a very good one. A good brand, good line. I got it at Costco, good deal on it, and I was just amazed. Luckily, it's covered under warranty.
Yes.
So I took advantage of Costco's concierge service, and then they got me rolling through the tech support. The tech support part, though, calling in and talking to somebody was pretty laborious. It took me an hour and a half to get this process going. Yeah, Tim, by the time I was reaching close to that hour and a half point, I was ready to strangle the technician on the other side of the phone. Of course, you're talking to somebody in another country with heavy accents that make it hard to understand them, and you tell them you have to slow down or speak better because I can't understand the same single word you're saying. That being said, I got through a majority of it, and then at some point, some of the things they had me do was the guy called me on my cell phone, and he took over and turned my phone into like a
webcam,
a web thing, so he could access the camera, so he could see what was broken on it and inspect the laptop. Of course, they always assume that you did something wrong, and in this particular case, even when the technician came and looked, he's like, "I don't see anything." He says, "You ever drop this thing?" Never dropped. It only stays at home. I don't usually take this laptop anywhere. I use it for home, for this stuff, and photo editing and video editing, and I don't let it go running around the world. Anyways. So the technician looked at it, got it approved, had to go put me on hold many times as he's talking to somebody to get things done. Then at some point he comes back and he says, "Okay, now I want to run some diagnostics on your laptop. I want to have you go into, I forgot this We Connect or We GoToMeeting or something like that that he wanted me to invoke on there. And I started to run the process to have him connect to the laptop. And I remember him saying, well, I'm going to load some software on there to run some diagnostics. And I said, whoa, wait a second. You want to load something on my laptop remotely? Yeah, so I can go and run some diagnostics. And I said, no, 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 no. You are not loading anything on my laptop. And so I put the kibosh on that. And he's like, well, why? And I said, I don't know you from Adam. You're a person calling from another, I'm talking to somebody in another foreign land. And the problem I have is a mechanical issue, not a software issue. I don't need you. You do not need to run any diagnostic software on my machine to tell me anything. And he said, well, I got to go talk to my supervisor on that. And eventually he came back and said, okay, we don't have to do that. But I almost became one of these people that got gullible by a technician to load something on my thing. Now, it could have very well been legit, but I don't know if this guy had a side scam going on or not. So I was not happy about that aspect. It really perturbed me at that point.
What broke on your computer again?
The basically the hinge that connects, it's a laptop. So the screen is connected to a hinge that connects it to the back of the laptop, to the main body. The hinge separated from where it holds into the bezel, where that is part of the screen assembly.
Yeah, actually, hinge problems like that are a lot more common than most people believe. I've
It
had
is.
many systems out of warranty, of course, where I had to repair them. And when I was Dell service, I had to repair other people's computers for the same thing.
Right.
Uh, in some cases, it's more than just the hinge. You may have to replace the base housing and or the top cover as well.
Which is what they did. They wound up replacing basically the whole lid.
Yeah,
That included the touch screen, the bezel around it, but the one thing they didn't replace, which didn't the technician didn't care for, and I thought was the stupidest thing in the world, they didn't replace the camera that's in the bezel. So the guy had to disassemble the old screen assembly to get to the camera that's behind the touch screen and the outer portion of the shell, the
yes,
bezel, the frame. So the guy had to separate these two. Well, that means busting it up essentially to get to it because it's all taped in place. He
that's
was
very
not happy.
common.
This
That
little dinky little thing that he had to go and pull out and rewire through when he goes to put it. It was the stupidest thing. Why they didn't just send an entire new assembly all in one? He would have been in and out in no time. So no, he had to go and futz around and disassemble it. But to affirm what you said, Tim, I did get a whole new top part. The base, there was no problem with the base whatsoever because where the way the hinges attached to the base part is metal to metal with metal screws. So that wasn't a problem. But in the back assembly, it is metal screws into a metal grommet that is more or less fused into plastic.
right.
It's a weak point. There's two of them on both right and the left side. And I examined it and saw, yeah, this is a problem. I used to have this problem on my old HP laptops, and this gentleman had told me he's been servicing a lot of these particular Lenovo's that I have for this same issue, which brings me up to a point. Now I got to go to Costco and have a conversation with them because I'd like them to do something to help me with coverage, but you only get the chance to buy their extended warranty. They're up to 30 days after you purchase it. Well, I had no idea there'd be an ongoing issue with these things. So
Well, it's that brass grommet that's fused into the plastic. A lot of times they just give, and suddenly you are forced to get either a new cover or a new base, depending on which ones gave out.
Right.
But I've even seen on 2 occasions where the physical hinge on one side or the other physically broke. That's real fun.
Yeah, that my old HP laptop, I had an old one that did that. It did it twice.
Oh
It
God.
broke the hinges. The actual metal hinge physically snapped.
Yeah.
And that happened twice on that same laptop. And I replaced them both myself. I went online, ordered the hinges, and did it all. It was not fun, but I did it. That worked I was able to keep that one for 5, 6 years or something like that. But um, so that's my experience with my laptop, which just got repaired today. The gentleman was supposed to show up at noon yesterday. I set this up 2 weeks ago. And he calls 5 minutes before his allotted time and say, "Oh, I have today off, so can we reschedule tomorrow?" I accommodated him, but I was not very pleased.
Well,
And if they,
actually, count your blessings on one thing. Very few of the manufacturers use in-home, in-business type repair. Most of them, you have to get a shipping container, ship it to a central repair shop, and then wait for it to come back.
you're right about that. And I was quite surprised that they did an in-home service on this.
Yeah,
Quite surprised.
Dell does it, and HP did. I'm not sure if they still do.
Yeah, so this was the Lenovo. I doubt it if this was because of the Costco angle.
I don't think so.
I don't think so, but I do appreciate the fact it happened.
How
So,
long was your warranty? You didn't pay for it with
well,
credit card, the Costco credit card then?
Costco gives you 2 years.
Okay, well, you paid for it with your Costco credit card?
Well, yes,
I
yes,
gave you an extra one for the basic one.
yes. You get 1 year from the manufacturer, and then you get another year from Costco. So they extend it. They give you 2 years.
Yeah.
So I got, what do I got? Like a year and a half left to go
Could you have turned it into a local store?
to Costco.
Yeah.
They have no. They have nothing they could do with you there because you have 90 days to return it.
Yeah, I know that, but I was thinking a warranty like this, it's their fault. So, but have you actually checked with them? I thought maybe they would take it back.
They would not take it. They did not.
No, I mean take it and get the warranty work done, and then have you pick it up at the store again.
Best Buy does or did have a policy like that also, but they used to also use Geek Squad in some circumstances locally to make repairs, but it depends, I think, on what it was. In the
Well,
case
they
of,
also have a regional Geek Squad
right,
depot, so
right,
it probably would be sent there and then returned to the store.
yes.
However, I was dealing with Costco, which has nothing along that line. Nothing.
Yeah, they're not interchangeable. We know.
Yeah, two different companies, different ways in which they operate.
Yeah, all of them are like that. They have varying policies on how to do repairs, and it's really something that's interesting that people need to check out before they buy, because if the way you have to get repairs done doesn't meet your needs and desires, then you might want to look somewhere else for something just like what you're interested in.
Yeah, for anybody who doesn't use Costco or doesn't know anything about it. A friend of mine needed a new desktop a couple of years ago. We went to Best Buy. They had a nice i7 for around $900. And I said, well, Costco's about, half a mile at the most down the road. Let's go see what they got. And wound up buying an i5, virtually identical except for the i5 from the i7 for $500.
Oh yeah, big
So
difference.
that makes it worthwhile to check Costco and see if they've got something going.
Sure.
Right. So that was my experience with my laptop, which I just got repaired this morning, and I'm happy with that. Let's see. I did get to watch the gentleman take it apart. I did not take pictures, which I could have and should have. But it was nice to see inside there. Let me see if I can pull up something. Bear with me, please. M.3. So the SSD, I wanted to see if I could show you a picture of it, but I didn't take one. Well, I wanted to see if I could show you a picture of it, but I really can't because the ones I'm seeing are much larger than the one I got.
Well, one other thing that used to be a high recommendation, but I don't think it's practical for the majority of people. When you have to ship one of these to a repair depot, it's recommended you remove your drive or have an absolute verified image backup, because sometimes when they go into the repair shop, rather than futz around with whatever you got on the system, they blow away everything on the drive, reinstall the OS, check things out, and then return it to you. At least if you have a full image backup, you now have the ability to restore that and be back to normal.
Okay, so anyways, I was trying to show you what it looked like, but I couldn't. The SSD is basically the size of a Wi-Fi card that's inside your laptop. Normally the M.3s are rectangular and are about this long.
Like a stick
Mine
of chewing gum.
was literally, it was maybe 1.5 inches in length for a 500 gig. It was teeny little thing.
They have about 5 different sizes.
Yeah. So that was kind of neat to see that. I will explore. I will expound on that part.
Yeah, Al showed what he had in his NUCs that he couldn't put in at new 11, and it's probably a 42 millimeter. It looked like no more than a 60. But I call them sticks of chewing gum, or partial sticks of chewing gum.
Yeah, let's see. Oh, yeah, there's one. They show an M.2. I think mine was an M.3.
I haven't heard of an M.3. Only 2, and they're either SATA or NVMe.
Yeah, I'm sorry, it was an NVMe.
Yes, that's still M.2. The M.2 is 22 millimeters wide by either 30, 42, 60, 80, and on a rare occasion, 110.
Yeah. I guess I saw printed on the ribbon, it's somewhere in the ribbon it said M.3. So I thought it was an M.2, but it said M.3 on a ribbon. So, you know, I can't say any more than that. But as you should see here on the screen, now this one in particular is only 128 gig, but it's just one I pulled up when I shopped,
Yeah, that's
Googled.
the smallest one.
Yeah, but that is the size. That's literally the size of the SSD that they took out of my unit. That's a 500 gig. It is teeny.
Yes, I have two much older laptops that can hold two uh, 60s, and they're just slightly smaller than the standard 80. And you can't get anything bigger, but you can put in a 42 or a 30 in place of the 60 if you want to.
Sure.
And what your illustration showed was an M.2 Gen 3.
Yeah. Gen 3. Okay.
Yeah, that's the Gen 3 is part of the NVMe. Gen 2, I think, was still SATA.
So that was my experience with the inside of the laptop. Was not much there. Really nothing inside these things. A couple of printed circuit boards and a fan over the CPU.
Right.
Very little inside there.
Oh.
The memory, I think, is actually soldered onto the motherboard, so I
Yes.
cannot add or change the RAM.
Right. Most laptops are that way anymore. The best
Right.
you can do is change the storage, but that's it. And if you get into the budget units, that's soldered in also.
Right. I could change the battery, if I needed to.
Oh, yeah.
Have not needed to yet. That will probably show up in a couple of years. So the other thing that happened to me, this is since we're on technology stuff, the morning I'm getting ready to leave town, I had previously, as I usually do, mounted my GPS on my windshield, my Garmin GPS, and came out in the morning to find that the suction cup gave way and it lost contact with the windshield, which it has done probably 100 times. But this time, when it fell, it cracked the screen. And I'm like, oh, this is great. And it's a glass. Mine's actually a touchscreen enabled a Garmin GPS that has a camera built into it, a dash cam built into it. So it's a multi-purpose device. And that's probably the best thing I love about it is the fact that along with giving you your GPS data, it's encoding that data into the dash cam. So if I ever went to court for something, whatever, I would have all the information behind there on how fast I was going, direction, time, everything is all encoded into the stream. I have not needed it, but a friend of mine got out of a ticket because of that. It's helped him. So, but back to my story, my screen had cracked and it was still hobbling along. I could voice command and take control of it and give it directions on what to do. And it got me to where I had to go in Minnesota. And then at some point, I called Garmin and had a conversation with a technician there and said, okay, well, this is why I'm calling. My GPS was mounted on my windshield and the suction cup way and found that it fell and cracked the screen. And the woman's like, oh no, that's terrible. And she says, well, let's see. And she's looking and she says, oh, you know what? That's from 2018, that unit, and they've discontinued it. She says, let me do some digging around. And she goes, oh, I found that we had 14. It's still left in stock. And because the suction cup gave way, they're going to cover it under warranty. Bonus. So the next day I had it boxed up and I shipped it out to them, and I'll get it replaced by the replacement will show up tomorrow. But I just can't believe that they're actually they're replacing it for free. And it's like a $300 GPS unit that I use. So for what it's worth, that's my story. I do have a story to tell you guys. Back to anybody else have any problems or questions? We have some new people that came in. Pete, what'd you find?
What?
I don't know. You were going to report on something last month. You were going to try
I haven't
something.
gotten to it. Since you don't remember what it was.
No, I'd have to rewind last month's thing.
It had to do with the iPhone 13 and the
The scanning. The 360 scanning. Hi,
Yep.
Terry's wife. Yeah, that's pretty neat. Anyone else have an iPhone 13? No. Okay, well, one of the new Bert's got one. Okay, so on the new
No, I got a 12. I'm sorry.
You got a 12. No, the 12
I got
doesn't.
a 12.
The 13 does this. You can actually do a three-dimensional scanning picture of an object. The object doesn't need to be stationary, so you can walk around the object, and it will take pictures all the way around. And then it'll stitch them together, and you can send this to somebody. I think they got to be on an iPhone to be able to see it, but you can also see it yourself. So with your phone, you can turn and manipulate the image on your screen and see it completely in 3 dimensions. Unbelievable. This is so cool. Pete, you should try this while we're talking. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, let me.
You got nothing better to do.
Let me see all the mess here.
Okay, what else do we have for people to discuss tonight? Problems, questions? Bob, your image looks a little better.
Yeah, I made a few tweaks to the Logitech webcam controls.
There you go.
So it was something in the webcam software.
Okay, there we go. Now you learned something new today.
Well, it's something I could have known before. The contrast and the color saturation were turned way down. And I'll make further adjustments probably before next time I go on to Zoom.
Okay.
In the meantime, I got 3 new backup drives, which I'm going to use for Linux, not Windows. And I got those formatted. A couple of partitions each.
How big are those drives?
4 terabytes each. And I always buy them in triplets.
Okay. And
because
you said you partitioned them into 4 partitions on each?
No, 2 partitions each. My previous ones, I had 3 partitions. I just simply keep on running out of space in my data backup partitions because I don't compress stuff.
Okay.
And hard drive real estate is cheap enough. Why not? But I do like to have things backed up so that I can restore files that have settings and configurations, things that you don't usually worry about too much with a Windows backup.
So the old drives that you used to use for that process, are you going to retain those in perpetuity, or are you going to repurpose them for something else?
These drives are simply supplementing the older drives. I just wasn't able to store a half a year or a year's worth of data any longer.
Okay.
So now I can.
Okay, but back to the old.
So they get cycled.
They'll get cycled. So you're still going
cycled.
to use the old ones.
Yeah, the old ones are still in use.
Okay.
And I have even older ones, and even older than that. Some of the very older ones aren't being actively used, but they could be.
Okay.
So So I'm not really looking for things to do with old hard drives, but I know there's lots of stuff you can do.
Okay. I was hoping you were going to tell us you're going to turn them into a server and a Linux server. We could all watch you do this in the Linux group.
Well, that would be interesting, but right now it's a bit more of a project than I want to tackle.
Okay.
I have like zero experience with servers, either in Windows or Linux. So I would have to learn everything.
Right. I understand. So what brand of drives did you buy? What did you get?
I always buy Western Digital, although the last time I bought Seagate Expansion. The Western Digital, my Passport, and the Western Digital, there's another series that they have. They work pretty well. The only drives I've ever had problems with where something didn't work with the partitioning or the file systems tended to get themselves corrupted. Those problems happened on Seagate drives.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the Western Digital Elements and Passport drives, I've had much better success with them. Not that I've had any terrible problems with Seagate.
And where did you buy these Western Digital drives?
Amazon. They're some of the Amazon basics.
And how much did you pay for them?
Gosh, they're about $100 each for 4 terabyte drives these days.
Okay.
Maybe $125 each. I mean, the price of hard drives is going up at the moment.
Okay.
It's
Costco still has 8 terabyte Seagates externals for $120.
Yeah.
They still got them. I don't know. I think they're going to be replacing those with Western Digital line after their inventory runs out. But that $120 for an 8 terabyte, good price. I have a spare sitting downstairs, 2 spare. Because I use them actually in my server. I gut them and put the drives right into my server, and they work just fine. For what that's worth. Anyone else have any things they'd like to talk about? Questions, problems?
Were those 8 terabyte, are they SSDs or spinners?
Spinners. Well, $120 for an 8 terabyte SSD. Oh my God, that would be phenomenal. That would be phenomenal. You can get a terabyte for about $100, but I don't know about 8. Someday, Harry, they'll be that price, but not today. Okay, anybody else? Nothing. So I do have a question. One of the things that I had to do in preparation for my laptop problem was to back it up, and I've been backing it up to the server using Macruium Reflect and point to a folder on my server and let it run to there. And it had ran fine for many months without any issues doing the backup process. But then recently, when I've been running that process, it gets to the very end, 99%, and then it gives me an error message saying the hard drive is run out of storage space. I got like 3 terabytes of free space on that server. I don't think that's a problem when I'm only backing up 400 gigs of data. So does anyone have any ideas why I would run into this?
Yeah.
Bert, yes, Bert?
Well, I don't know if you remember, but I was running into a thumb drive that had space but wouldn't copy everything, and because it had so many files on it.
If both were available, I could probably. It's a question of what I can carry in my car.
What? Bob? I think he's having a conversation with somebody else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, the number of files may be something to look at, just to see if maybe it's hitting some limit based on the formatting.
Yeah.
I'm going to mute Bob. I don't know. I could it run on the number of files? You mean on that local drive or on my server?
On
Oh.
the server partition.
Okay, so I guess I could put it somewhere else and see if that works. In a different folder completely. Make a new folder up, which is what I'll do the next time. One of the things that I did do is I did hook up an external drive directly to the unit, and I did a backup from there, and it worked flawlessly. So I don't know what the problem was, but I just thought I'd throw that out there if anyone else had anything to do with that issue. If not, anyone else have any questions or problems? Okay.
I got a
What?
question.
Go ahead, Bill.
Whenever we do updates on Windows 10 or Windows 11, you create a recovery drive. I'm assuming every time you get an update, you should create a new recovery drive?
No,
Yes or
no.
no?
If you're using the Macruium Reflect and most of its competitors, usually you only need to recreate the recovery drive maybe once a major version. In other words, like a version 6 to a 7, I would do it. But or now in Macruium Reflect to 8. Other than that, you don't have to very often recreate it because the principles are all the same.
Okay,
Okay.
got it.
I do have a question. And it goes back into my life.
Yes.
Well, I hope you're alive.
Not a live. I know I'm a live. I was wondering if I was live.
You are live. We can hear you, Pete. Go ahead, please continue.
Okay, so a while back, and I want to say 3, 4, 5 months ago, we were discussing the upgrades from 10 to 11. And there was something in BIOS that some people had to change.
Oh, that's if you're trying to go on unsupported hardware. There is a registry patch that has to be done first, but understand, on unsupported hardware, you don't know if you're going to get all the updates or not. And in fact, they just started releasing 22H2 for 11. It went to RTM, and they've already discovered they accidentally have provided it to unsupported people running. Whether everybody's going to get it, I can't answer.
So the question was with that security chip.
Yes, that's the TPM chip. TPM 2 is
2.0.
what they want, but I have a machine here, it's an antique, that has 1.2, and so far they acknowledge that.
So is Windows 11 ready for prime time?
Oh, I believe it's been ready for prime time for quite a while. The problem is mostly from a standpoint of all the heavy security to protect really businesses more than the individual. It's overboard for most consumer use. But the other thing is the dramatic change just between 10 and 11's layout. This machine I'm on right now is 11 unsupported. and it works just fine. But I have to juggle, and between 10, which is on the majority of my machines, and this 111. Actually, I got 211 because this machine I had to upgrade the SSD from a smaller one to a bigger one. I took the smaller one, and it's an optional drive on a laptop. So I actually have two versions of 11 I can actually run. But for the most part, it's all unsupported, old gear, but only the one has the TPM module, the other one does not. So it's pot luck. And for 11, they really prefer you leave the machine on all the time. The reason for that is they do a lot of the updating during the night, but I have gotten some during the day. I do leave this machine on at all times, but the laptop is not. So there I have to invoke check for changes and stuff like that. They're trying to spread the load for getting this new version stuff out, along with patches.
I have a question in regards to Bitlocker. Can you clone a drive that has Bitlocker installed?
You can, I believe. I can't say that absolutely, but you have to be logged in to do it. You cannot do it, shall we say, in an offline manner, such as putting in a recovery drive and your backup drive and trying to back up through the recovery drive like I can do in Macruium Reflect. If you run it from within Windows, it should back up, but I can't tell you exactly how it's going to play on a restore.
Okay, I'm saying not a backup. I'm saying a clone.
I
So
understand
you
what you're
use
saying.
something like EaseUse or something like that to clone a drive, and the drive has Bitlocker installed. Will you successfully be able to take out the old drive and put the new one in place that's been cloned across, and will it still work?
Well, it's supposed to. Let's put it that
Okay.
way, because you're copying the same BitLocker with the same key. It's not like you're trying to divorce yourself of BitLocker. And personally, I've had a few systems with BitLocker. It was a pain in the butt, and now this goes back several years. To be able to do certain updates, backups, etc., and restores, I said, screw it, and I just closed off BitLocker. BitLocker is good if you're taking a laptop outside your home. Inside the home only seems to make little to no sense.
Yes, Bert.
My experience with BitLocker is you can turn it off. And if you turn it off with the key, then you should be able to copy things and you don't have to turn it back on. As I understood it in some of the secure software, if it's backing up BitLocker or puts it into OneDrive or something, it encrypts it again, like a double encryption. And so that's a little scary, but I think the easiest way to deal with BitLocker is turn it off. Then do what you need to do. And if you need to turn it on at the other end, that's fine.
But doesn't it actually go through and encrypt the files?
It encrypts everything, but when you turn it off, you had to give it the key to decrypt everything.
Okay, which takes time for it to go through and decrypt everything, and you got to have real.
You're on an
No.
NVMe on that machine.
I got you, but it's not instantaneous. It still is going to take time to go through, 500 gigs of data to decrypt it.
Yeah,
I've
but
never seen it take any time to decrypt.
Okay,
It's just a key so that when you access the file, the key is on or the key is off.
right.
okay,
That's one of the quirks, and it's probably best to shut it off, do your clone, and it doesn't matter what you do with the drive, even swap them, and that's perfectly fine. But then you can turn it back on. It's using the same damn key.
okay.
Just don't lose the key.
Yeah.
Just don't lose the key.
So,
Well, actually, your key is in your Microsoft account.
Right.
So, I mean, as long as you have another machine to access the same Microsoft account, you can recover your key.
All right. So how do I get that? Microsoft account. Sign in.
I don't remember where it's at, but I remember I had to do it.
It's in there, but they keep moving those things around for the Microsoft accounts.
I don't doubt
So-
that.
But when you get into your account and you've got your other information about your Microsoft account, something in there will also show you your keys if
Okay.
you have any.
a
Lots of
question,
ads that I have to go through on their website. I'm logged in. Now let's see. Oh, look, they want to sell me Microsoft 365.
Surprise.
And let's see. Schedule repair. Find my device. View details. Let's see if it's got my Bitlocker key. Where would that be? Bitlocker data protection. Manage recovery keys. There it is. I should just, well, I don't want you guys to see this part.
Heck no.
Oh, to verify my identity, it wants to send me a text.
Sure.
Okay, so now I gotta get a text. Oh, shoot, no. Gotta go back. Ending in, that's an old phone number. Last stuff. No, 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 no. I don't want that.
Shame on you.
Well, they got my old phone number in here. I gotta change that.
No kidding.
And don't lose your phone either.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
don't
well,
get it
there's,
stolen.
yeah, I need to go backwards because they got the wrong phone number. They have my old phone number. Anyways, I should do this offline. So,
yeah, got a question,
any other last question?
got a question.
Yes, Pete, go.
Okay, so when I have not used BitLocker, and from way back when they first came out with it, they said they were using BitLocker to physically lock the hard drive so that if you took it out of the machine, you couldn't use it on a different machine.
That's the way I understood it.
So if you were going to clone it using a different machine, the minute you put it in the other machine,
It wouldn't
it would
work.
be locked. It would not work and it would be locked. So everything would be gone.
Right. Would be not visible. But I intend to clone it to, let's say, to go from a 256 gig SSD to a 500 gig. You know,
In the
I'm going to go
machine
up in size. And it's going to be used in the same thing, same unit. It should
Okay.
theoretically work.
Yeah.
Theoretically.
So the
Okay.
idea was to encrypt the drive initially so that if somebody got your laptop, took the drive out and put it in another one to use, the drive would be useless. That's what I originally understood.
Yes.
Right.
Correct.
But if you
Okay.
turn BitLocker off, that may not be the case.
Correct. But if you're using it in, let's say, like in this particular case, my SSD is incorporated into a laptop. No one's going to go and disassemble the laptop to take the SSD out. You know, this little chip. It takes a lot of work. It takes 15 minutes or so just to disassemble that thing. Or 20 minutes, not like a desktop that you couple of screws and you can yank that sucker right on out.
Yeah, but it's a case where they would steal it once they got it to what they consider a safe place. They can do whatever they want, no matter how long it takes.
Yep, that's true. Okay, anything else we want to cover on here? If not, I will go into our things for tonight. We'll share this. We're going to do this. And here is our topics for the meeting. I think, Tim, we're going to start out first before we go into these topics with Bill. Bill, you had a YouTube video that you wanted us to watch, and let's talk about what the goal was here.
My goal?
Yeah, what was the purpose of why you presented this stuff to us?
My grandson graduated from high school, and my intention was to give him a monthly stipend, a little bit of money. And I didn't want to give it to him all at once, so he'd blow it away. So if I give him a little bit every month, he at least will have that. So I was trying to find a way to transfer the money to him electronically. And so I came up with this Google YouTube video that had 7 different free money transfer apps. And I was looking at those and was wondering if anybody else had used anything like that, and was going to show you this video.
I personally use Zelle.
Yeah, Zelle is one that the banks use.
That's directly why I use it, because my bank had set me up with it.
Yep.
And I felt that that's one I would use because my bank offered it to me. My wife uses Venmo. That's another way.
Yeah, I was also looking at Google.
Yeah. I don't know about you could use, I think Facebook has got their own
Facebook has got
money transfer thing that you could pay people with. I don't know anything about that one.
Right.
Has anyone else used any of these? No. Okay, well, Bert, yes, you pay people.
Well, I don't, but I have other people I know who do. You think that the Zelle and Venmo are, perfectly safe, but they're not, and they don't stand behind it if there's a problem.
That's right.
They're just an intermediary to hold the money. And if something doesn't transfer, the bank doesn't stand behind it, and they don't stand behind it.
Not
And
only
there
that,
have been frauds.
a lot of them
So
have
if
had
the money's
fraud
transferred,
attacks.
it's gone, even if it went to the wrong people.
That's right. Hackers have gotten into some of those, cleaned out people's bank accounts.
Well, from what I read and saw, it was only when you were conned into sending money to them.
Yes, that's correct.
It's not like they ever hacked
you
to get it.
if you know who you're sending it to, that wasn't a problem.
There were interceptions of this from one person to a bank through Zelle that have been frauds.
Or you mean the bank was a fraud?
No, Zelle was somebody pretended to be you and through Zelle and took the money.
You know, this is an actual case that you could bring up.
They're actual. These are stories. I hear fraud stories all the time.
And a lot of my security posts will periodically show those kind of issues. I'm not kidding. And the more it flies.
It doesn't mean people don't do it, but just be aware that there's nothing to stand behind it.
I'm aware of that.
Yeah, it could be cases where, like I'm reading online, where the scams are happening. It says you receive an email or a text asking you to confirm a large fake Zelle payment.
Right.
And then they're asking you to reply. And then when you get those, if you don't recognize the number that it comes from, you just ignore it.
Right.
Regardless if the Zelle, Venmo, or something else that's happening, I saw this once come across where I did get a text message from somebody saying there was, a deposit being made in my account for blah, blah, blah. Hit yes or no to confirm this. And I ignored the whole thing. Don't even respond to it. Because once you respond, then they know there's something to follow up on there. So that I could see as a
I
bona
think
fide.
That's
That's
stupidity on your part in order to have that happen.
right. It's like spoofing. They're spoofing you.
Yes,
Exactly.
that's right.
So, just like anything, Bert, none of them are safe. Everything takes a risk. You write a check these
Let me,
days or accept a check
let
and
me
it
add
comes.
something else to this. I
Yes.
had a client once where they did a wire, they got a call from a bank because somebody was doing a wire transfer through their account for millions of dollars. And if the bank didn't call to say, are you sure that's okay? They would have gotten the money.
Well, here's the other thing that I thought of if I ever played with one of these cash payment accounts. I would go to my bank. I would open an additional account, keep a bare minimum amount of money in it, and do payments through that. They would not have access to my primary account. And that way, the most they get is whatever happens to be in that secondary account. And if I receive money into that secondary account, if I'm smart, I would then move that money into my main account myself directly with the bank. That protects me losing that money. So I mean, you got to try and know up front how much money you need in that secondary account. You put it in ahead of time. Then you make your transfer payment out. Or if you're getting something in, you receive it in, and then as soon as possible, transfer it out of that secondary account into the primary.
Okay. Now that go ahead, Pete.
Okay. I use Venmo for money coming in. It's just to let everybody know, if you don't know, Venmo is a service of PayPal. Okay, so my suggestion to Bill is he go to his grandson, have his grandson open a separate account, attach a Venmo account to that account, and have that Venmo invoice Bill for the amount he wants to donate every month to his grandson. That way, he's actually going to get an email from the account, and then he can actually pay it from his account into the Venmo that goes directly to his grandson's account. And it's only a kind of convoluted, but it might be more secure. More secure.
So are we talking about using PayPal as the account that backs Venmo?
No. PayPal and Venmo are the same company.
Okay, so using the
Either
PayPal instance of Venmo and linking only to, as Tim says, a secondary account.
So you don't need PayPal in there at all. Because you can have a Venmo account without PayPal, so you can forget about PayPal.
Or use Tim's idea of just linking the Venmo to a secondary bank account that has very little money.
His grandson opens an account with the very little money.
Yeah.
Link the Venmo to that account. Set Venmo up to invoice Bill for the amount that he wants to donate monthly or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That way it's not an automatic transfer because Bill still needs to approve every single month.
Yeah, I wasn't going to set it up as an automatic transfer.
But he's got the right idea.
Reminder.
So that's a different way to approach this.
But even Zelle, if my bank and his bank has access to Zelle, you can make, from what I understand, you can make a direct transfer from one account to the other And that's all it does. And it has to be, well, you can set it up automatically if you want, which I wasn't gonna do. And so he would know the first of every month to look for my phone, which he has on his phone also, my phone number. And he would know that it's coming from me, and anything else he would ignore.
Well, I've got an account with Chase Bank, and Chase has an application where you can send a person or a business amount of money, and depending on when and if you wish, and it's guaranteed.
Mhm.
And I've sent individuals who've done work for me remotely and, several hundred miles away, and they've received a check. I pay all my credit cards with that and that. One time, the mailman didn't deliver a check to someone, and it was somewhat of a pain, not really, but I had to find the right organization to take care of it, and they did. They put a payment on the check, and after 2-3 weeks, they reimbursed my account, and I sent the person another check through the same feature, and this time the mailman delivered it. So I use that all the time.
So
It's free.
this is like a bill pay arrangement where the bank issues the check.
That's correct, and they do. And if it's, say, you're paying your mortgage or whatever, and
Yeah.
it has to by this date, or you're dinged, they will eat it. Although I haven't ever had that problem, because I always add a couple more days. They give, I think, 5 business days to do it. So it's very easy to do, very, very responsible. And you've got Chase Bank, probably the United States' largest bank, behind you.
Yeah, I don't want to open up another bank account.
All right, how about we get to Bill's presentation that Bill wanted to do? Bill, I think you could just go ahead and call that up, and you should be able to share the screen.
All right. See my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okie dokie. Let's see if I can get over here. All right, such as it is, this is it. There was 2 of them. The other one I don't remember offhand. I would have to look for it. It had 5 different ones. This one has 7.
Today I want to share with you 7 different money transfer apps that are easy to use and totally free. Now I want to share these with you so you don't have to be paying any stupid fees when transferring money to friends and family members. I don't want Western Union to get any more kind of money than me actually transferring the money that I wanted to transfer, and so this makes it so much easier. Now these 7 different apps are currently available on pretty much most platforms, and also pretty much mostly in the US as of this recording. Sometimes those things can change, and if that does get updated, I will let you guys know in the show notes down below. But as of right now, most of these are going to be through the US only. And make sure you stick around till the end, because we're going to be talking about which one of these 7 free money transfer apps might actually be best for you to have on your phone. Before getting onto the list, if by chance this is your first video with us, my name is Dennis, and here on this channel, we love finding ways to build wealth and become financially free. And even if that means saving a little bit of money on money transfer fees, or actually getting money back from somebody that owed you something, that can really go a long way. Definitely make sure you hit that subscribe button, because we talk about personal finance quite a bit. So the first money transfer app is Cash App. Now Cash App is super simple and easy to use. It's very basic when it comes to how to send and receive money. And the nice thing is they also have a really cool feature where you can actually get a debit card to spend that money that you received from friends or family members directly on the card, instead of having to send it back to your bank account, which you can easily do, of course, if you so chose. So as of this recording, Cash App actually has a $5 sign-up bonus. I will have a link in the show notes down below. So next up is probably one of the more popular ones, and this is Venmo. So Venmo is an app very similar to Cash App that you can send money back and forth to friends and family members. Now Venmo recently also added a card as well. haven't personally utilized it as I did with the Cash App, but I do have the ability to use that money directly. Now, Cash App and Venmo also have a cool feature where you can have money sent directly to your account instantaneously, but they do actually charge you a tiny fee for that. So if you need the money right away, you can do it through transferring instantaneously or using the debit card that's provided. So next one up is going to be PayPal. Now, PayPal is a pretty big one, but some people might not know that they do have a friends and family feature to be able to send money with no fees. If you send money to a business, you usually will have a fee recurring on the business's end. So receiving that money can cost you about 2.75%. But if you select friends and family, that actually allows you to send that money with no fees. Just be cautious, because if you send that money to a business as a friends and family, they don't deliver, you do not have the customer protection. So the next one is a pretty big one that most people might not know about, and this is with Google Pay. So Google Pay actually allows you to send money through email entirely for free. Super easy to set up, have your card on file, and in your emails, you can click the little money icon and send money directly through email. So simple and no fees, which is one of my favorite things, and just right there at your fingertips. Another surprising one is gonna actually be with Facebook Messenger. So a lot of people have Facebook and have a quick access to their accounts. You can actually go into Messenger and pay somebody directly there. So this is a very simple way. Obviously, if you already know the person and have messages back and forth, you can easily confirm that you're sending it to the right person. All you have to do is set up a card on your profile to be able to set that up. So next up on this list is Apple Pay. Now, Apple Pay does have a couple limitations, mainly the fact that both parties need to have an Apple account, so that way you can actually send the money. Now, with Apple Pay, it's very simple to have money added into your account from one of your cards on your Apple Wallet, or as the new Apple credit card will actually be giving you cash back directly into your cash account to be able to transfer money back and forth. And the Apple Pay is mostly simple to set up for people, as they typically already have a card on file, and then all they do is just send a message for people that they want to either receive or send money to through Messenger. So next up on this money transfer list is Zelle, or Zelle. I don't know, people have given me a hard time before. I actually made a dedicated video on setting up an account with Zelle, and sometimes people give me that hard time if I'm saying Zelle or Zelle. But either way, it's a free money transfer app. And the nice thing about this one is it's actually through most major bank accounts. So the nice thing with Zelle is that these are actually directly from banks, the big banks that most people already have accounts with. And so it's really easy and simple to set up and be able to transfer money from your bank account to a friend or family member, or vice versa. And the way to actually set it up, I have a video directly linked in the show notes down below. You can check that out if you're interested in transferring money directly from your bank account without really needing to go through any other type of apps. And the biggest benefit of this one is, as I mentioned, you're not going through multiple apps. It's really just from your bank account to theirs, or vice versa. So before mentioning which one of these apps might be the best one for you, I want to know from you guys in the comments down below, which one of these apps have you personally utilized before? Do you like them? Do you not? I want to hear from you and what you guys have to say down below. And if you enjoy these type of videos and you always want to keep on learning, make sure you have that like button down below. And don't forget to subscribe if it's not already. All right, so which one of these apps is going to be the best one for you? Obviously, we talked about 7 different apps here today, and each one has a couple different features that maybe other ones don't. But one thing before mentioning which one is to actually make sure that you go through and read all the details and all the features of each app individually, because each one has different limitations and rules and requirements when starting it up. And as far as which one is the best one to have, I actually recommend having all of these apps available for you. The reason for it is if you have to transfer money or you have to receive money from somebody, it's so much easier and so much better for you personally if everything is set up with all of these different apps. So that way the person that is trying to send you money can easily do so in whichever format they have, because you have every single one available. Last thing you want to be doing is sitting around and having to create your account, put in your information, and go through that whole process while you're waiting for this person to transfer you money. You might as well just go ahead and do it right away, especially if this person is taking months, maybe even years to pay back. You don't want to give them any more time. You want to make sure you have these apps directly available and have all your information saved. If you want to keep on on learning more about some of these apps where I go in depth and actually show you some of the tutorials for them, click on this playlist right over here.
Okay, Bill, that was
Yep.
great. So which one did you wind up deciding to use?
Well, I haven't, let me turn that off.
Then you need to check out Shopify.com/.
Go ahead, Bill.
Well, I haven't made up my mind yet, but I'm kind of leaning toward either PayPal or Zelle. But he also has an Apple phone, so we could go with Apple.
That's not a bad way to go.
Apple,
Mm-hmm.
trying to find everybody, I lost them. Minimize this.
We're still here.
Yeah, I see you, but I don't see anybody else.
Probably you might need to change your view.
I got it.
Okay. All right.
So I'm thinking about either Apple Pay, Google, or Zelle, and or Apple Pay, PayPal, I should say, or Zelle. And so I'll have I think he has cash already. I'm not familiar with cash at all.
How long are you going to do this for?
Pardon me?
How long?
How long?
Yeah. You gonna
Once a month for 4 years?
for 4 years? Oh, while he's in college.
Yeah.
That's nice of you.
Well, I'm gonna try anyway. I don't know if I'll make it or not.
Do you have any stipulations, like he still has to be in school?
Well, he doesn't get the money except me to send it every month. It's gonna be manual,
Okay.
not gonna be automatic. So I got 3 grandkids and I'm intending to do that for all 3 of them.
So you can give them legally up to, what is it, 10,000
Yeah, I'm not
per person, meaning per spouse. So that would be you give 10,000, your spouse can give 10, that'd be 20.
I think it's higher than that, Sanford. I think it's more like 15.
Maybe it is 15 now. I don't.
It keeps going up because I'm doing a little of that with my kids, but not the grandkids. Not going to that extreme with them. That's up to the parents.
It is 15, yes.
Yep. That's what I thought.
Of course, I think we have an accountant in here. Hey, Terry.
Yeah.
How much can you give a kid? Can you give your child a year annually and not impose a tax on it?
Gift tax.
A gift tax.
Like you said, 15.
Yeah, so I thought.
15,000?
Wow.
And that's 15,000
Per person.
per person,
Per person,
meaning
yeah.
givers. So if there's a
Well, also receivers.
Yeah, he
So
gives
my wife and I could give
15 to each grandkid too.
my wife and I could give $60,000 to my married daughter and her husband per year.
Got it.
But not doing that, not that rich, especially not in today's market. Not in today's market.
James he's got all that money down there. I see it. It's behind that picture behind him. He's got a safe in there, and he's got, wads of money. I'm glad I got you chuckling, Jim. Just making sure you're staying awake there, Jim.
Well,
All right.
I'm comfortable, but not that comfortable.
Okay. Anyone else want to comment on this subject?
Now, there are other kinds of arrangements that can be made, but they are specific to special circumstances. I have disability arrangements, for example, and those go through trust funds and through repayee and through special needs trust, that sort of thing.
Yeah, those are special considerations, if you will. That's not what Bill is looking to do.
No, it isn't. He's looking to just simply give a certain amount of a gift and to meter it out monthly using payment apps. Yeah. And I think he's probably on the right track with either Zelle or PayPal.
There is a caveat that came up, I think it's just in this last in 2021 tax season. And Terry and Bert probably could elaborate more on this, but I believe that if you transfer more than $600 a year to the same individual, you'll get a 1099, or somebody's going to get a 1099.
I think that's only for businesses through PayPal or eBay.
My understanding, it was personal. So if you did it personally and wrote and gave somebody $800 via Zelle or whatever, a 1099 could be, and I don't want to say would, but could be issued by one of those companies. And I don't know who it goes to. I think it would go to the recipient that they got the 1099. The purpose that I understand, now please, Terry, you or Bert, you guys can elaborate more on this, is to catch the people that were paying their babysitter, if you will, or their house care person under the table, so to speak.
Yeah, they're employers, so yeah, if they're employers, so yeah, they could they can use their social security number as the employer, yeah.
Well, my cousin, who lives in Portland, Oregon, used to do a lot of business on eBay. And he used to sell gobs and gobs. And he quit doing it because, as you say, the IRS now gives him a 1099 if he's over $600 through eBay.
Yeah, if you're using credit cards, they have a 1099-K and they'll report the amount of transactions you do on the credit card. Yeah.
But I think if I'm doing cash, even though it's electronic transfer, I don't think that applies.
Well, for one thing, Bill,
I mean, if you're doing a credit card transaction, they'll that'll go toward your 1099-K. You know.
My understanding is if it goes to a family member, Zelle is not going to be tracking that or reporting that. That's my understanding.
Right.
I can check that with the bank.
Well, you can if you want to. If they want to show income for the kids, but otherwise, no. Yeah.
Worst case scenario, I guess I could send them a check.
A lot of kids work for the family business or whatever, and that's just no 1099s or whatever. Yeah.
Well, you're supposed to.
I wonder what the IRS would do if you said you had a 10-cent profit.
I'm sorry?
Say, I wonder what the IRS would do if you recorded a 10-cent profit.
They tax the shit out of you.
Yeah, they'd probably take 9 cents, right?
You got it. Okay, so we covered this subject pretty good. Is there anything else we need to cover on this? No. Okay. Then let's go to
what. Sanford, what's this thing about Windows 10 21 or something? What was that all about or whatever? Is that current version or whatever?
Current version is 21H2, and they just released to manufacture Windows 11 22H2, they're calling it. I don't know when they're going to release 22H2 for 10.
Yeah, because I saw that something about an upgraded version of Windows 10 or something.
Well, all Windows versions went from 2 upgrades per year to 1. And I thought it was all going to come out in like October. Now they're down to just 1. But for 11, it looks like late June or July will be the release of 11's upgrade for 2022. 10, I'm not sure about right now.
I'm on 21H2 right now.
Right. Most everybody should be. Still, 21H1 and 20H2 are supported, but the time is running out for 20H2. So if you're that far back, you need to be upgrading to 21H1 or H2.
Now, do you have to do, Tim, do you have to do something separate, or is that just handled automatically?
Most of the time it's
Internet by
automatic.
Windows?
When you go into the updates section of settings, it will tell you everything that's available. And if you really look at it, if you see 22H2, then you know you're getting an upgrade from whatever you are now. The only thing I recommend, when you see it, stop. Do not start the install process. Take a full image backup first. Then let it go ahead and do the upgrade. In case something bad really happens, you can restore that full image backup. Make sure it's a verified backup, meaning that it's been checked out by the backup program to be a good quality backup. And if you don't, which has been a lot of people's practice in the past, not to auto verify, you could end up with a backup being done and find out later, hey, it's all garbage. Guess what? You got no backup.
Oh,
That's why you have to have an absolute minimum of 3 consecutive backups. If you can handle more backups than 3, all the better, because malware and ransomware can be possibly incorporated in your more recent backups, and you may have to go back far enough in time to get a real backup. And if you have your data also backed up separately, you'd restore that, get all your OS and programs up to date, and you're back in business. Is it going to take 5 minutes to do all that? Absolutely not.
Be aware that today was a cumulative update from Microsoft for Windows for most versions.
Right.
Okay, can I inject over here? I pulled up the instructions on how to upgrade from 21H1 to 21H2. But for those many people, or some of the people in the group, may not know how to determine what version of Windows that they have that they're actually running. And I will tell you right here how to do this. It's real simple. You just go down to your start bar and move your cursor down the bottom. And I don't know if it's going to do it on mine where it says type here to search. You type in Win, WINVER, Victor, Edward, Robert,
We're
WinVer.
not seeing your screen.
Okay, you probably won't see this part because it's a pop-up. Let's see. New share. And okay, so there's share. And you should have that little pop-up window that tells you that I am running 21H1.
Yeah, that works for me.
Right now,
Okay.
I think you can still upgrade with no hassle to 21H2. I've had no problems.
Okay.
But
I'm just stating this is how how a person would determine what version of Windows that they are running,
in
so
addition,
that they would know what to expect, or should they do an upgrade? Do they need to do an upgrade? Or how far back are they on their upgrades? Terry has multiple machines there, and this is a very simple thing that you could type into your search bar.
there is
WinVer, and it'll tell you what version of Windows you're running. Tim?
there is also, you can go into settings, system, and go drop down to about, and it will tell you characteristics of your machine, and below that is what version of Windows you are running. Same information as WinVer.
Okay. Mine was just real easy to type, so that's why I chose it.
I do it the way you are doing it, but I've also used the other way because some people are averse to holding down the Windows key, hitting R to bring up the run box and type in WinVer.
Okay.
Actually, I did it from the local search.
Yep, that's all I did. I just go right down to the start bar and type in where it says type here to search, and that's where I type WinVer.
Yep.
And then it works. It's just boom, you're there. Okay, so back to this screen on how to do an upgrade. You can go to settings, update and security, Windows Update, check for updates, and see if it's being offered to you. Of course, Microsoft wants to sell you or install Windows 11. I would recommend, but other people you could recommend. It is a personal choice whether you want to do an upgrade now or not. But at this point, that's not part of this conversation. We're saying stay on Windows 10 for now, and you could check for updates and see if there's the 21H2 is being offered in there. Okay, so then you would just do a download, install, and during the update process. This has not been offered on this particular laptop yet, but I didn't check it today. If you want to get it, let's see, you need to enroll the device in the release preview channel of Windows 10 Insider program. Is that true? Not anymore.
No. Bottom line is you can go to media. Wait a minute. Excuse me. Microsoft Media Tool in a general search and online, and then there's a double tool there. One is upgrade your system online right then and there. The second is to download the media tool, and you can then either create a DVD or a USB drive image that'll be put on either media, and then you can upgrade any machines you have from that to 21H2.
Yeah, you can either download the ISO file, which is a disk image, or you can create the install media.
Right. And it's for most people, I would create the install media rather than get the ISO image, even though I'm quite experienced with it, being able to put it on the drive myself with other tools.
What's the difference between an ISO file and an install file?
The media creation tool will leave you with an installer that you can just launch.
Yeah.
Whereas an ISO file, you have to have some other way of launching the ISO.
Right. And see with the
Put the ISO file in and boot the computer?
The media creation tool will automatically create a, like I say, a USB drive or a DVD image on that media that you choose. And then you can run it as an in-place upgrade within the running Windows, or you can boot off of that media up to the installation process, and it will handle everything from there.
By the way, whoever's showing Windows Update right now, you're going to get rebooted by the end of this meeting.
I hope not. I did not choose. I did not do. Well, let's see. It's just doing cumulative updates. Hopefully, it will.
This is the normal.
Hold out.
This is Tuesday, second Tuesday of the month.
Yep.
This is normal.
And it will try to reboot.
Well, usually.
Oh, but I see 21H2 is being offered to me at this time.
Right.
Exactly.
So let's see what's in this update.
Okay.
That we can do. All right.
I'll tell you, it's nothing exciting.
Right. That's true. It's a roll up from
Yeah.
21H1 and all the various patches and updates that they had since 21H2 was released.
Okay, so here's what it says. Enjoy WAPA 3 H2E standard support for enhanced Wi-Fi security. Get GPU compute support in the Windows subsystem for Linux
Okay.
and Azure Edge for Linux on Windows eFlow deployment for machines learning and other compute intensive workflows. What the heck? All right, so all this hype over 21H2 yields Wi-Fi security.
Understand,
Yeah.
every version of Windows only has 18 months of support, period. Once you're past the 18 months, you no longer get any kind of updates unless it's a peculiar high risk one, in which case you might get just that.
Now, there is a long-term servicing branch for business, but not for consumers.
Okay, so this was a lot of work, discussion for something with very little gain. I'm glad I was really I was losing some sleep over this 21H2, and I could sleep a lot better tonight. I'll tell you.
Oh,
right.
it is a snooze.
Oh, it's a good snooze, and I can't believe the long list of stuff that I had to digest in that article. I don't get it where they're talking about Linux. What, Linux and Windows?
Yes.
Yeah, there's a subsystem for Linux.
Think of it like the subsystem of Android that's in 11. I don't think they ported it back to 10 yet. And
Okay.
That works the same way as the Linux apps.
Okay. So it really doesn't do much here. And
if you're a developer, you might want to have it so you can do cross-platform development.
Right.
That's the main reason people use it.
Wow. Okay. Well, I'm not developing anything other than a sore backside.
What's that one about accepting cookies? Yes or no?
Yeah, I'm going to say, how about the cookies? Is there a way to tell what's good cookies and bad cookies, or?
Well, you know what? I was kind of hoping they might be oatmeal raisin or something like that.
Yeah, chocolate chip.
Yeah, well, you get the chocolate chip fans. I'm the oatmeal raisin fan.
Actually, I am too.
Okay, and at least they're showing a woman with a cup of milk, I'm hoping, and a chocolate chip cookie. Great for dipping.
We don't see the screen. You don't see anything?
Oh, you don't. I'm sorry, you don't see what I'm sharing. Got it. My bad. Let's see. No, let me do this. Sorry. Share. There you go.
Okay, got it.
All right, so inside of cookies, does everybody here in this group know what cookies is? And if you don't, I can't see everybody, so speak up if you don't.
Yep.
Is there anybody that does not know what a cookie is?
Well, how do you get the bad cookies out, or you're on your own?
Okay, first thing we want to, Jim did not know what a cookie is. Would someone in the group like to tell him what a cookie is?
Okay. A cookie is a very small little file that a browser will collect many of these on most websites. And each one of these contains a certain format in which there's a small piece of information or small pieces of information. very often what they'll do is they'll identify where you came from, which browser version you're using, things of that nature. And sometimes they're used to track what you do online and to keep records. And some of these records are stored locally. Some of them are stored at various websites, so that when you return to that website, you might get a more personalized experience, things of that nature.
Specifically, also, if you have a website that you log into, the cookie may contain some of that login information so that when you come back the next time, it will know who you are by first name or whatever. But it will also have your, like Bob had said, it'll have your browser history. In particular, any products you were specifically looking at, they may repopulate the page when you come back. That is a particular pair of shoes or an SSD or whatever it is, a camera or something that you were looking at. And that's the type of stuff that would be on there. All the sites today are mandated to tell you whether or not they use cookies, and that's because of what had happened in the European Union and their laws that were passed, and therefore everybody had to follow suit. The US is way behind on this, considering their laissez-faire attitude on the internet. So the European Union took over with that function. Jim, I can't see you at the second. Did we? Oh, there you are. Now I moved up so I could see you. Can you unmute yourself? Do you have more questions on cookies? No, you're good. All right. Okay, so then cookies are based, like they said, they're stored on your machine locally, and other sites can touch or read those files independent. So you can go on, Facebook is notorious for that, on reading your cookies that you have stored on your machine, and they may relay that to a competitor, if you will, of a product, and that competitor may read that cookie information and then want you to buy that pair of shoes from them versus Zappos, or the camera from them versus B&H, B&H camera. So that information can be used in a good sense and a not good sense. They're also a way of your playing around with your privacy, because your private information has been incorporated in that little text file, and other people can read that, and that's privacy issues. So I think the question was asked in the course, you're basically asked, when you get to a website, you either allow the cookies if they let you make a choice. Some do not give you the ability to make a choice whatsoever. Others will give you allow cookies or decline cookies. And if you decline a cookie, that means nothing should be gathered, nothing should be saved locally, and the next time you come to that site, it's not going to be incorporated with anything that's pertinent to what you looked at before, and it won't necessarily know who you are. So the next question was asked by Terry: how do you get rid of it? Whether or not, except Chrome browser, let's say blah blah blah. Oh, you can go to your browser's privacy tab, which should give you the option of deleting cookies. So it's in your browser is where all this stuff is housed and maintained, and that would be the place to get rid of it. Another
on the other hand, Sanford,
yes,
the major browsers do not make it easy to get rid of all of the cookies and history information in one fell swoop.
right.
They keep different cookies in different places. And that's how a whole cottage industry of browser add-ons and security software add-ins has arisen. These are just simply meant to do the things the browser does, but to do them in an automated way so that you don't have to go hunting and pecking.
Right. So right now I'm in my Firefox browser, And we have enhanced tracking. I'm assuming that might be their cookie section, but I'm not positive. Standard, select, custom, send websites a do not track signal. This is what I have as always. Cookies.
Cookies and
Well-
site data is the category, and you can clear the data, manage the data, or manage some exceptions in case you have login cookies.
Right. So you can clear them all. You can manage them, like you said. You could. This is where you would deal with the cookies part.
One
And
piece of advice.
yes,
If, in particular, financial institutions, you want to make them exceptions. You
Yep.
do not want any software such as CCleaner, etc., getting rid of those, because every time you then log in the next time to that financial institution, you have to go through the hoops for security to prove you are the right person.
that's right.
Yes, you're right.
Now,
Yeah.
most of the cookies that are put out on any computer, it's per browser. I always use multiple browsers. And bottom line is, you don't want to look through these things and try and manually delete them. But at the same time, too, if you don't use no specific cookies for financial institutions, as one example, that you want to keep the cookies, you have to find them, make them an exception, and then blow everything else away on a very regular basis.
There is a technique you could use to make sure you know which ones you do want, and that is clear all your cookies, then go and log into the financial site. Then take a note of everything that is associated with that login. Because then those cookies and only those cookies are likely to be there.
So as you guys can see up on the screen here, I pulled up the managed cookies and data. The files are not very big, like 38 by 117 kilobytes. You know, they're really small file.
I said they
And
were small.
They are small. I did sort here. You could sort by, you know, the frequency or the site name, how often you've gone to it. Look, Zoom 72 times. I've been on that one. And you know, 2 hours ago, but I don't want to delete that one because that cookie contains all my auto logon stuff that I need to keep it going properly so I can run the meetings. I don't know this next entry, g2crowd.com. I have no idea what that one is, but you know, those are little ones I could go and look up and see what that is. But you can look at ones that you haven't touched in over a year, you know, in a long time. You could get rid of all those things. So in my case, since this system is 8 months old, it's not going to be that old of cookies. They're on here. Another option, if cookies are an issue for you and you do not like to be tracked where you go on the web for privacy reasons, maybe you're under the witness protection program or something, and I am not going to expunge on that. You could use software, something like DuckDuckGo, which does not retain cookies, does not retain passwords, it doesn't retain anything. So it's all cleared out after.
There have been recent studies that say DuckDuckGo does retain stuff.
Okay.
Not a lot compared with Google, very little.
Okay.
But there's at least a little bit.
All right. Thank you for correcting me on that, but I will say, you know, it's a good choice that you could use when you don't want to be followed, or you're going to some sites that you really don't want anything on your machine about. You know, maybe you're going to go and check the dark web for some stuff and you don't want any tracking of the dark web on there. Yeah, I mean, it could be, you know, I say that in a chuckle, but it's not a bad idea if you can figure out how to get to the dark web to look. And once you're in there, you could look up yourself. And I think this might be a great subject for somebody to do one of our meetings is how to actually log into the dark web.
Dark web does not use normal web browsers.
No, it doesn't.
It has an entirely different way, and cookies aren't generated by these ways of getting into the dark web.
Yeah, okay. But I think this is a good thing that somebody could do at some point, is to discuss how to get to the dark web so that you can go and search for yourself and see what information's actually out there on your own name that's not on the regular web. I don't know. I don't know what you could do with it once you find it, because we've all been told that all our personal data has been stolen from all kinds of security breaches and it's available on the dark web. Well, let's go take a look and see if we can find that. I wouldn't mind doing that. I forgot how to do it. It's something I'll have to look up too. So anyone inclined to do a presentation at one of our meetings on going to the dark web, feel free, have at it. I really think that would be a great subject. So
Never been there.
I did it once, long time ago, long time ago. But that was it.
Sam, doesn't your wife do that with the real estate stuff? They go out on dark web looking for, off the, off the book listings or whatever?
No, they don't do anything with the dark web.
If somebody were paying
they
in
go to a private network, I know.
That's a private.
That's different. That's different.
That's totally different. That's more or less, consider it like a separate room in an office. Okay, it's not dark. It's not underground. It's just that those people that are part of that room, if you will, subscribers to it, like the Microsoft Insiders thing. It's those people that are part of that get to see it. The rest of us don't get to see it.
Yeah, it's an industry-specific, non-public network.
That's it, right? And that's only the agents that are affiliated either with that office or affiliated, period, that they pay to be part of the MLS that is. And MLS, multiple listing service, is a very regional thing. So you could have an MLS for the Chicago area that's not affiliated with the MLS of Southern Illinois. And those agents in Southern Illinois cannot see what's listed in the private network up here. That's kind of how that works. That's a whole separate thing, Terry. Private network.
Well, I know the private network is usually just your agents and your, like Coldwell Banker, or just for Coldwell Banker or other, and then, before it goes out on the web or whatever.
And that could very well be. It can also only be agents that are part of that office.
I think that's what
that office or that company, because that's a company ran server that's doing that. And they're the ones controlling what they can see. Yeah, it's not the dark web. So
get the first crack of the new listings.
We need to move on to, that's a totally unrelated subject there. And we're going to run out of time tonight. We're not going to cover anything tonight. I need to put a kibosh on this one pretty quick. Any other questions or comments on deleting cookies, managing cookies, eating cookies, ordering cookies?
Well, I saw your thing about color. I mean, about downloading or reading documents, trying to, sometimes they're almost impossible to read. I mean, how do they just to read stuff that, on the computer? I don't know if that's color or whatever, but, I'm sure you guys download stuff and, it's a lot of that stuff is hard to read or whatever.
I guess I'm not following you, Terry. What do you mean downloading stuff, color?
Well, it's a
is this the topic we have here?
Whatever. And a lot of times it's just hard to read this stuff, or whatever.
You mean because the font is too small? Because you can,
I'm sure you guys have, sometimes you
any browser,
it's just hard to read or whatever.
If in any browser, you can hold the control key down and press the plus or minus key to make it larger or smaller if you're having trouble reading it.
Now, are we talking about downloading pages to be viewed offline at a later time?
Well, I don't know.
If I can send the picture to yours.
Terry, are you talking about like PDF documents that you receive?
Telephone number.
All right.
Are you talking I'm sorry, PDF documents? Are you talking about scanned documents? You're kind of a little vague here with this.
My wife interrupted me. What was your question, Sanford?
Well, we're talking about, you said you're having difficulty reading scanned
Yeah,
documents.
but some of the documents, that I get or whatever, just so hard to read this stuff.
Are
Sometimes.
what is it that makes it hard to read? Is it the size of the font?
Maybe that's the key to making bigger fonts or whatever.
Okay.
Did
you hear Bill's? Did you hear
just
Bill's?
doesn't come in real clear,
Did you hear what Bill said you can do in a browser?
Can you repeat that by Bill? I'm sorry.
Hold down, if you're in a browser,
Okay.
hold down the control key,
Okay.
and if you press the plus or the minus, it will either enlarge or reduce the size of the picture, of the image, making it easier to read the text.
Thank you. That's what I need. Sometimes.
Terry, this is
hard to read.
available in any browser, on any website, or in any, so like at Microsoft Edge, if you use that and that pulls up a PDF, which it does now,
Right.
and you need to make the PDF bigger so you can read it, you just hold down the control key and then hit the plus key. That's the one to the left of the backspace, somewhere over there. That makes it bigger, and the control and minus will make it smaller. It'll work.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. That's a big help. Thank you.
I also use a little free program that is called Zoom It. Like we're using Zoom right now. Zoom It is the name of the program. And when you run that program, you use the control and the 1 key, and it will enlarge the whole screen, and then you can move around the screen. Now you can't scroll or anything. So if you wanted to move down on a page, you would have to hit Control 1 again to toggle that feature on and off to move up and down the screen. But that's a nice little feature too, and it really makes screens big. If you want, I can share that and show you.
All right.
Want me to share that, Sanford, or not?
Go ahead.
Okay.
I will also add that Microsoft has a built-in magnifier.
Yeah, they do.
And all you go down to is next to the start bar and just type magnify, and it'll pop up as an app, and you can utilize it right there. Please go ahead, Bill.
Okay, here's Zoom It. I clicked on it to activate the program. If I hit Control 1, it enlarges the screen and I can move around. But it's only the active screen. I can't scroll from this screen. To get off of this screen, I hit Control 1 again as a toggle, and I'm back to where I was. So you can see how big it makes things.
Thank you.
Okay. Called Zoom It. It's free. I used to use that when I did presentations.
Thank you.
All right, you can exit that, Bill.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. I thought Microsoft had some screen.
Microsoft has a magnifier.
They have a magnifier, but wasn't there other tools that they had for viewing things easier on a screen?
Accessibilities.
Thank you. It's under accessibilities. And see. Accessibility. It's a web search. Okay. I'm not going to go down that road. Right. Sorry?
Setting.
It's
Let's
under
go to settings.
Okay. Yeah, you're right. It's under settings.
The screen that Bill showed just 30 seconds ago, he shared his screen and displayed it.
Yes.
I tried hitting my Control plus or minus. It didn't change the size at all on that.
It's only in browsers.
Right, and right now you're using
in Zoom.
right. It's in your browser. We're in Zoom. Zoom is a different app. Okay. Any other we basically ran out of time for tonight. So is there anything else on that list that people desperately want us to cover tonight? And I can't see everybody, so I gotta come back to this. And I could do a quick share of the screen. And I don't know why I would want to turn on and off core isolation in Windows 10.
Using two computers with one monitor was interesting, but I can read that offline.
Yeah, I don't know how they're telling you to do that, but I personally, let's see. Let me see if they tell you.
Can Macruium Reflect be downloaded to a USB and then moved to another computer to install it?
Yeah, your install file. The file that you download before you install it.
The version that you can use for free, you do not have permission to use on multiple computers.
Oh, okay.
From the USB. You can install it on multiple computers, but they have to be separate installs.
So I guess if you have a monitor that has multiple input ports, multiple HDMIs or display ports,
Okay.
you could theoretically just plug in your output from both computers to there and do the switching at the monitor. That means you have to have you have to go on the menus and change the monitor to which device you're accepting the signal from.
Okay,
HDMI 1.
So it's kind of like the multiple monitor situation.
Right. The way I do it, I have an old style KVM switch, a keyboard, video, and mouse switch, KVM. And mine, I hook up two computers. They all wind up sharing the same keyboard and mouse and the same monitor. So then on the keyboard, I just do a certain key sequence that switches the system from the monitoring from one computer to the next computer, and it assigns the keyboard and mouse to that particular running machine. Both machines would have to be running at the time.
Right.
The caveat that I found is I must boot to one completely first, then start the boot process on the other one, do the keyboard configuration or whatever routine to switch the screen, and then monitor that second one and watch that boot up. Then it'll work just flawlessly, switch for the most part between the two, and it works very well. That's the way I would go. But again, I'm sharing one monitor and one set of keyboard and one mouse across two different boxes, if you will. Not doing this on laptop to laptop or anything like that. Yes, Bert.
Yes, I have an older monitor that has a VGA and an HDMI. And what I found is you can have them both use it from two different computers, but only one at a time.
Correct.
Yeah.
So you have to only have one of the two plugged in at a time.
Right. So here's a KVM switch that they're illustrating here. Of course, they're showing it with VGA.
Yeah.
A USB. So what they have on here is you have the two blue ones on the right side are coming from your independent PCs. So PC number 1 could be on the top, PC number 2 is on the bottom. And then on the left side, you have one video out and you have one keyboard and one mouse out. I'm not sure what this USB stick is doing here, but that's that's the way I interpret this one being used. It's very basic. It works very well. I don't know if they work with HDMI. I'm assuming they do, but I don't know that for a fact. But it works. The one I have works off of VGA, so it works very well for my setup. When those computers die, I'll move on to something else. But I found it very advantageous. Instead of having 2 keyboards and 2 mouses and multiple monitors set up, this has worked very well for my personal situation. Okay, anybody else? Yes, Dennis.
Tim mentioned that before like doing an update, take a full image backup. Would that be like using Macruium Reflect then to do that?
Correct. And you go, when you're setting up to do the image, you go down to advanced options in the left column, click on auto verify, put a check mark in the box before continuing. When you say click on the finish button, it'll begin the backup process. And as soon as the backup is done, it automatically verifies the backup image correctly reflects what's on the system. I have not had one failure of this type of operation.
When I'm done, when I connect the, how can I say this? When I connect the computer to the internet and I go in to download, that's what I was asking earlier, if you can move it USB to one computer. So when I connect this computer to the internet and I'm trying to download Macruium Reflect, simultaneously Microsoft is trying to put updates on my computer to install.
You got to separate the features. Let Microsoft do its thing to get updated because apparently you're behind.
Right.
Once that's done and it's booted up, all configured, then you go after the Macruium Reflect. Now, what Bill was trying to say, you can download Macruium Reflect on any computer, the free version. You then can put that free version on a USB drive, and from the USB drive, you can install Macruium Reflect on 10,000 computers if you got the time. It doesn't matter. You're not running it from the USB drive. The only thing you run from a USB drive with Macruium Reflect is the rescue media.
Yeah.
The rescue media is normally for restoring a backup image already made, and optionally, you can use it to create a backup image. But that's all it's used for. You normally install it on each of the computers you want. You run it and do your backup right from within Windows.
There are,
I'm not sure.
Dennis, just so you know, there is other software out there to do backing up service. Macruium Reflect is just one of them. It's the one that's commonly used amongst the members of this group because it's free. And there is a paid version of it that gives you more flexibility and more options.
Right.
So you should know that the free version only does specific things, like it will make an image of your drive, but it will not do subsequent backups for later on. That means it won't do an incremental backup or any other backup type services that you may want that will take up less space on your drive and make things go a lot quicker.
Right,
those you have to pay for that kind of service.
no, I'm just saying I want to connect this computer to the internet, download Macruium Reflect, and then right off the bat, as soon as I download it, I can execute it.
Correct.
To make an image backup. Even though while my computer's connected to the internet, Microsoft could be putting upgrade files.
Yeah, that may happen, and you can't stop that. You can't stop that.
But that doesn't interfere. That doesn't interfere with Macruium Reflect.
Correct.
Okay.
Dennis, if you really were concerned about Windows or Microsoft or anybody else, could be Adobe or somebody updating something in the background that you don't want done, take your system offline, take it off the internet. First you download Macruium Reflect, then
On
take
another
it off.
computer.
Yeah.
Download it on another computer.
No, you can download it on that one and just disconnect it from the internet after you download it.
Okay.
Do your backup, then you reconnect it, whether it's a physical plug or it's turning the Wi-Fi on and off on the thing. If it's a laptop, it's
Okay.
just a Wi-Fi, it's a soft setting that changes that. So
Just
if that's
download it and cut it off right away. Okay.
right, if that's a concern you have before you do the backup, you will have to have a spare drive to do these backups to a destination for them to go to.
External hard drive, right.
Preferably external, but it can be internal too.
Do not recommend that. That is super dangerous.
It
Because
is.
you can lose everything.
It is. I'm just making a statement. You can do it that way. Even if you had, let's say you had a system that had 2 hard drives, you could back up the C drive to the D drive.
No, I don't.
Okay, but I'm just saying there are ways of doing that.
Okay. No, I would do it to an external hard drive, and then once I did that, it's easy to, if something happened during the upgrade from Microsoft, I could then go to that external hard drive and reload that what I had before.
And it's always been suggested that you should have a system set up where you do this periodically, and you have multiple hard drives that you do this to, or partitions or whatever, so that you're going to essentially have a father, mother, daughter, if you will, or 3 backups that you're going to be doing. Okay, and you're going to cycle through them. So it'd be, if you do this once a month, it'd be, January, February, March, April, May, June. If you're looking at my fingers, you can see how it goes. January, February, March, April, May, June. I think I got that right.
Well, I had scribbled on my calendar. I thought Tim was going to do some kind of a Macroom Reflect and backup meeting. But
I know we've done them. We've done them already in the past, and they're probably posted on our YouTube channel.
And also, in my more FYIs, I periodically publish a tutorial on it.
Right. I would go and check out. There's plenty of stuff we've already. I know we've already done this at meetings. We've actually done a walkthrough on this.
You can look at YouTube and it'll walk you right through it.
Yep, that too. And again, it's also in our YouTube channel too, somewhere. One of the meetings. Okay, Dennis?
This year, you think? Or last year?
I could not answer your question.
Okay.
Probably last year.
Sanford, I believe the meeting in which you went over the installation of Macroom Reflect, you forgot to start the recording until after that.
You're right. You're right. Thank you, Mick. You're right. That was the meeting. I did forget to start the recording at that time.
Go to YouTube, Dennis.
Yep.
Maybe we could have a redo of that, because YouTube is great, except unless you get somebody with a specific dialect, which I always seem to get, that it's almost impossible to understand various words, and critical words too, that they try to pronounce, and you have no idea what they're saying.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Did you guys know that Macruium Reflect, the people who make the software, have excellent tutorials at their site?
No, we did not, Bob.
Didn't know that. Thanks, Bob.
I believe it's Paramount Software.
Yes, it is.
It's a UK company, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes, they are. I mean, I'm glad they are UK, even though UK isn't quite EU. It has some of the protections.
Okay, anything else for this meeting? Otherwise, I'm going to call it a night, gentlemen. We'll see everybody. I don't remember. I don't think I have a meeting next month. I know there's no West Side. And I'll let you know about tips and tricks for July, whether or not I'll be running one in July. Okay?
Okay, if we get any word about when or whether there might be any more South Side meetings, I presume the CCS office will notify us of that.
Yes.
Maybe. Otherwise, you'll have to guess.
Okay, Tim.
Well, a link would have to be provided to Bob for that to happen. So there would be a notification that would go out if there is a meeting.
But anyway, we'll be notified of when there will be future meetings.
Right. And I know that there is no Northwest meeting for this month. And I'll stop this.
Recording stopped.